Summer is in session at Icon Park. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 8 of Summer Sessions, a Carlton Media pre-season podcast. I'm your host, Christian Philippou. Julian Wallace is back on producing duties today, and while we're joined by a special guest, a very special guest, someone we've been asking the question of for a little while now, and he's here to prove that coaches can actually have a funny side to the serious side. Vossy, welcome to Summer Sessions.
Thank you. I'm surprised I'm last, though. You actually left me till... Am I last?
Not last. We're trying to get David Cunningham last, but that's because that needs a bit of work.
Okay.
You're not last, but you're towards the end.
Okay.
Keep them waiting.
No, that's all right. Good.
Not an ego hit. That's all good.
No, I'm not upset at all.
Just a little bit. Well, we were told before you walked in that you're a big fan of the show. Big fan.
Yeah.
You love it. So you know what the first question is.
Yeah.
Go-to karaoke song.
Easily America Pie.
Nice.
So, yeah, that's... I can belt out a rendition pretty poorly.
Yep.
But know enough of the words to be able to string a few sentences together.
And that rendition is going to happen right now, I believe.
Yep, ready to go. So
that was one of the provisos that you wouldn't have to sing on this show.
No,
so
there's a couple more beers before I start doing that.
We wouldn't do that to you.
No.
Well, this podcast is called Summer Sessions, but you've been pretty coy this summer. You've just kind of let everyone else do the talking, and you haven't really spoken all that much. How's your summer been?
No, it's been nice. I guess that's part of it is guys being able to step up and do other things, which has been great to see. But no, it's gone as planned. So we obviously clearly every pre-season we come in with a few objectives coming into the pre-season, and you're never too sure how much of those you're going to tick off. And there's always little points where you want to grow a little bit more. But I'd have to say, with what we've been able to get after this pre-season, we've achieved most of them, which has been great to see.
And away from coaching and footy, mate, bit of tennis that you enjoyed over the last few weeks as well?
Yeah, it looks like I was sort of fraternising with everyone in the over the pre-season, but one of the joys of I guess living in Melbourne is the other activities that go on. And when we moved here from little old Adelaide, and not to get upset Adelaide people, but it's a bit of a quieter city.
Yeah.
Not as much going on, but yeah, sort of use those opportunities to be able to get out and about where we need to. But yeah, a little bit of the tennis. Obviously, me and Tom go way back. Got together there. So yeah, a couple of real highlights. Robbie Williams as well.
Like 50th next year. Like, will they be invited?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. They'll be invited. I don't think they're coming, but we'll throw out the invite anyway. So no, in between all that, it's been good. I've just been able to get some real rest, and it's a time before Christmas where you can sort of take a bit of a step back, and the coaches are great here. Got great trust in my coaches to be able to execute what we're after. We've had a member of our coaching team with Jordan coming in, so he's found his feet really, really well. So that's, I think, we've got one of the better, best, if not the best coaching group, I believe, in the competition. So our players feel really well supported.
As a coach, you're making decisions all the time. So how do you switch your coaching brain off in the off-season?
It's hard to unplug. Really hard to unplug. I went overseas, went to New York, did a little bit of study in obviously the break before we come back for the start of pre-season. So that was good. Tried to visit a couple of teams. One fell through, but I got to the Philly Flyers, which was nice to be able to go and see a bit of ice hockey. I've brought a little bit of ice hockey flavour back into some training drills, which the players have, I think, enjoyed, but have had a little bit of pain at the same time. So that's been good to be able to adjust a couple of things into the program that's you learn from some of the other places, and you bring it back. So I was able to do that, and then, of course, like most other people over Christmas, is just down tools, unplug, don't talk to anybody, and then we ramp it up.
Were Matt Kennedy and Mark Pitnet excited when you brought in some ice hockey drills, and they thought there might be a few more scuffles in training?
Yeah, they thought it was for them, but no, there was no one-on-ones going on. There was no 2-minute corners, or been getting the sim bin. So no, there was none of that. But no, we had a little bit of fun with a couple of things, and the boys seem to have enjoyed it.
Having said all that, excited for the footy to start in just a few weeks' time now?
Oh, I can't believe it. It's been such a. It feels like it's been a short turnaround. The reality is we still got a heap of content, heap of training into the players. I feel like they've really gone to another level with how we train and how we prepare, and so they're in good shape. We've put ourselves in a good position. I mean, we'd always like not to have injuries. Obviously with Sauce going down was a real kick in the guts for us all, and he was having such a great pre-season. And then obviously Weeders was probably the other more major one, although he'll be back in the early stages of the season. So no, we've been able to tick a few boxes, that's for sure.
A new season does mean a new year of coaches' press conferences. Are you hoping your in-presser gags land a bit better than they did last year? Because there is a look of defeat in your eyes when you think you've landed one and it doesn't really get the reaction you want.
I just don't think they've learnt about me yet, and maybe I'm too dry in my delivery. Maybe I need to put a smirk. What do you think it is?
Our staff member, the couple of staff that are there laugh.
Yeah, and that's all I need. I just need
just one.
I just need one person in the crowd to smile, and I know when I look at the back and there's one or two that have a smirk on their face. They know that they took it the right way, but I don't know. I think even through that period of time when we were doing it a bit tough, I threw a few gags in.
I think
people weren't expecting it, just weren't expecting it. And then when obviously we started to become a little bit better, and I sort of threw in what I'd hope was a couple of little one-liners here and there, and sort of got the same response. So I'm going to have to work on my delivery.
Can coaches be funny? Is that allowed?
Yeah. But it's like dad humour.
Okay.
I get that feedback all the time from my kids.
You've got 44 sons.
And they just think it's just dad humour. So some of it takes and a lot of it doesn't. But if you don't throw it out there, you don't know it's a gag, do you?
You don't. Well, someone who else is bringing a bit of life, it's a great segue, is Charlie Curnow. He's now a new member of the leadership group, as announced on Wednesday morning. Speak to us about the rationale behind those changes to the leadership group.
Yeah, well, we're always looking to increase the density of our leadership, and we've certainly built a really good program in behind the scenes that touches on a few players across every line. But as it turns out, the way our leadership structure was, we were lucky that we had pretty much Weeders in the back line, and we had Walshy through the midfield. Obviously Cripper through mid as well, but his reach goes through the whole team. But sort of felt like it'd be ideal that if a forward was able to step up into that particular role. And then I guess we went through the process of who that might be, and clearly the standout amongst the boys was Charlie as we started to go through our own processes, and as the player votes emerged, he was the definite strong candidate, and so we're continually trying to build out that leadership density, and he was more than willing to put up his hand, and he really wanted to be a part of it. And I've been talking to Charlie really since almost the day we finished the season about where he was at and his appetite, where he wanted to take his football, and not just in terms of where he wanted to take his craft and his position, but what influence he wanted to have on our team. And after considering it probably for 6 or 7 weeks and a few surfs later, he came back and said, I wouldn't mind having a crack up and putting my hand up. So that was great to see. But then the process takes over, and you're never too sure where it goes from there. And obviously he had the resounding support.
There's no one formula to leadership, as we all know, and I guess our leadership group probably very much proves that for quite different individuals. Is that the beauty of it?
It is, and they just got more interesting with Charlie, so. But that's the flavour, and look, I think every bit of advice that people give people in leadership is to bring your strengths and be yourself, and don't be something you're not. Don't pretend to be something else. Just be yourself, live in your own skin, and that's what we love about him. That's why he's been voted in as one of those key leaders. And you see the energy he brings, whether he chooses to bring it or not, he just naturally does. And he has such a big say and such a big influence in the four walls, not just on game day. So seemed like a natural progression for him. But you've got to be ready for it too, you've got to be ready for it in your career. And his history has been, a couple of years ago, he struggled with the body a bit. He's really trying to find himself probably back into the AFL team and find out just how good he is. He's certainly been able to do that in my 2 years here. And now I guess the next question gets asked.
It's not just those four, obviously. Probably a real prominent feature of training this year is players taking ownership of each session. Bringing themselves in for discussions post-drills to depot before even getting to the coaches. Is that led by you? Is that led by them? How does that all work?
Oh, well, they're under the guidance of our Aaron Greaves, who does our leadership, spends a lot of time with them. Darren Hodge, who comes in as a leadership coach, helps them out in that space as well. But, the communication on field is critical, not just from standards and accountability, but message and how do you sort of narrow that message in. So we spent a fair bit of time on that. Interestingly, it started out as the leaders, but as more players become more familiar with the conversation, there's been more wanting to step up and have a go at it. They don't nail it all the time, and certainly the boys let them know there's nothing like 45 players to keep you honest in the conversation. It's immediate. If you miss a word or you spell something wrong or you said something you shouldn't have, you find out pretty much straight away how you went. But it's all about being able for them to take ownership really and lead the message. And we're not saying that they need to be 100% right. There's going to be mistakes in it. It's not going to be perfect, but the more that they can get and build presence within the group, then more comfortable you are at being able to say it under pressure. To
go with that, I guess, what have been the behaviours and I guess focuses of this pre-season? Mitch McGovern said to The Age last week it was more about raising the floor than raising the ceiling. Yeah. The consistency will always be something that you're shooting for. I think what we've really put a big emphasis on this year is, what's important to us. And, if we lost our way anywhere last year, we sort of lost what made us and what made our identity and having full ownership on that. And that's something we've spent a fair bit of time on in the discussions. But we also can't be limited there because we understand there's still some gaps that we need to close and that we need to get better at. So, but what we won't get distracted on is making sure that what's important to us, and we've said it a million times, but we talk about the contest, we talk about defence, and you won't hear us change too much from that language. All the really nice stuff stems off the back of that, of doing the hard work. And so we haven't strayed too much from that conversation, and we're just going to continue to grow that out. Matt always set the line at 1,000 last week. How many times have you said contest and pressure this pre-season, over or unders? Ooh, I'm saying unders. Okay. I'm saying just unders. But I'm hoping it's about 4,000 by the end of the season. As long as they understand it, that's the most important part. Well, another key word that I want to ask you about, since you and I guess the new leadership at the time came in at the end of 2021, is probably not a word that's been associated with Carlton ever, if the word humility. I guess, what does it look like in a football club? And I guess, why is it so important? Well, I think what we become, firstly, a little bit misguided on humility is that we think that that's somehow, I guess, a soft word. Yeah, like timid. But it's not, because you can show humility. And the way I talk to you about humility is that you play the same way no matter who you play against. And that means playing your way for 120 minutes. If that's ruthless, if that's contest-based, then you play your way for 120 minutes and you don't stop. And that doesn't matter whether you're 2 goals up, 5 goals up, 9 goals up. Having humility is treating every opponent with respect. So when there are opportunities to be ruthless, you be ruthless. But then there's also humility in that, we want to become a consistent football team. And that consistent football team is you have a consistent approach. And too often we let results stem how I feel and therefore what I do. And if your preparation's not the same, and you're coming in and you lower your guard, you'll get punched in the face because there's not that big a difference between the best sides and the bottom 4 sides. There's a very small difference. So our environment has to have humility in it because it's about getting better every day. It's about turning up, being better than the version you were yesterday. And it's about having consistency in your preparation so that when you turn up next week, you treat the next opponent exactly the same. So no, there's no looking at the ladder and saying we're playing first this week. There's no looking at the ladder saying we're 15th this week. We've got a way we want to play, and that's what we're going to go after. Is pre-season this year any different to like this time around? I guess back end of last year, is it sticking to what we know and what worked, or has it changed in any way? No, we've definitely evolved. We've definitely evolved, but we've also, if you look at, I guess we sort of look at some intangible things, and there's some numbers, there's some hard data that clearly we always lean on, and GPS is a great guide for that. We've got some other metrics we use to measure our training, and so we want to create a really game-like environment in what we do. But then there's just that eye of seeing the way the players train, and
how they train session after session and to the standards that we're after. And you mentioned about the leaders being able to, or the players picking up the training and the language. That's one thing. Being able to train at the intensity session after session, that's another thing. When standards and accountability drop in a certain way, the conversations have been had in the right way. Our reach into our game model becomes a little bit more depth and has a greater understanding, and more players are on the same page in key moments in games. So you have all these other little intangible metrics that you use that says, we're in a better place, and I'm comfortable to say that we're in a far better place.
Pre-season cliches, we love them on this show. We thought we'd go to the top and ask you classics: who's flying, who's set for more midfield time. We know coaches don't like individualising, so maybe it's more of a what's impressing you. But if you want to mention a few names, that's fine.
Yeah, okay.
But more so what's impressing you out there.
Look, I think I didn't know Elijah a lot coming in, and obviously, was impressed by some of the vision that I'd seen. Nick Austin was a big fan of his. I've been following his journey for a little while. I've been really impressed with his attitude, and he's come in to be able to play the way he has, or train the way that he has been really impressive. We've had that steady growth. Obviously Razi I've seen a little bit more of, but again, new guys that have come in and done some special things. Billy has done some great stuff. We've probably taken a bit of a decision to play him a bit more across half-back early in his career and develop some skill sets there. He's just such a natural player that, runs at the game or runs at the defences, and he's had some really good highlights. So all of them have had sort of little bits of points of difference about them throughout pre-season, but more importantly, what we have had is that our midfield group has largely trained a lot together. So they've been competing each other and boxing on quite a fair bit. Our forwards have been out there quite a fair bit throughout the pre-season as well. So they're building their cohesion. So I guess there's some individual improvement, but then there's some team dynamic improvement that we hope to obviously translate onto the field when the games are relevant.
We always ask about who's set for more midfield time. Maybe we'll go the other way, because we saw at the back end of last year just deeper pool of midfielders rotating through there. Lockie Fogarty got minutes, David Cunningham, Elijah's coming in. Does that lend itself to someone like Patrick Cripps spending more time up forward, or a Matt Kennedy? Or?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we're still thinking that out around Sauce and not being there for the year. So what would that look like? So we're in the midst of those conversations. We get a chance to practice some of that, what that looks like. So a midfielder being able to rest forward, especially with the guys that we've got, they're beasts. When we talk about Matty Kennedy and Patrick Cripps, so they've got an ability to be able to have some aerial presence, not just ground level. So that's one thing we're talking about at the moment.
There was a lot that was learned about the footy club in, I guess, recent times, but since your arrival here, I guess what's the main thing that you've learned about the Carlton Footy Club?
Oh, the main thing? There's a lot of uniqueness about this club. And the uniqueness comes in our fan base, I believe. I've talked to our players a lot about this, and we talk about, raising the floor and lifting the ceiling. I mean, they'll lift the ceiling for the noise, so, but how we play is very, very important. And that's provided us some unique opportunities. And throughout the year, I spoke a lot around, finals preparation and what makes you prepared. And we've got this really unique opportunity to be able to play in games where we're consistently playing in sellout crowds. It's either we're playing in front of sellout crowds, or we have peak interest in the game that we're playing in. And that's different. It's different. Not every club gets that sort of exposure. So I felt really comfortable that when we walked into finals, outside of the result now becomes a really defining factor. I felt like we were going to be really well prepared, through the accountability, through the noise that was going to be brought, through the environment that we've been in, the exposure that we got throughout the course of the year. I feel like, as a side consequence of all that, that we're going to be ready for finals, and it probably turned out that way, to be honest.
Slightly envious of people like Jesse Motlop and Ollie Hollands, who were playing in front of 90k in their first year. What do you reckon you were playing in front of?
No, I know what I played in front of. my first game, I don't know, maybe.
What was the actual figure? What was the
about 11,000, maybe
yep.
about 12,000, probably.
Yeah.
Against Fitzroy, it's at Princess Park.
Yep.
So that was our first win, but then we went away to West Coast, and that was a larger crowd because obviously West Coast. I think my third game I might have had about 800 people.
Yep. Yep.
So and I talked to Lockie and Ollie, and they probably get sick of me saying it, but I said to Ollie, I said, "What was your first game you played in?" He said 92,000 people. I said, "Oh, that's interesting." I said, "Lockie, what was your third game?"
Yeah.
He said, "Oh, what game was that?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, that was the Easter Friday game, mate, against North Melbourne." He said, "I don't know how many played." I said, "Mate, 52,000 people."
Yeah.
So again, uniqueness, but they're walking in, and this is normal. So in terms of their environment, I mean, almost abnormal to play in a lower crowd.
Yep.
So their, I guess, exposure to it and feeling comfortable with that environment, there's a genuine advantage in that.
You felt that passion and that noise more than anyone, particularly coaching from the bench, which you did basically exclusively last year. I guess what's the thinking behind that?
Just to get closer down onto ground level. I mean, I'm really lucky. I feel like I've got a great set of coaches with a great set of eyes and got some real great footy strategy. And so they get to sort of be the eyes up in the air, and they feed the information down. And then just being able to have those conversations, players come off, more to reassure, to be honest.
Yep.
More to try and provide that positivity and that they actually did do the right thing, or if needed, to be able to address anything that's immediate. But there was some real special moments on the interchange bench last year at the end of games. I think I carried on a little bit too much.
We'll get to that.
But it's just coach supposed to step back from all that. But it was great to be involved in those conversations in really clutch moments in games, and be able to have a conversation like against Melbourne. Having Gov right beside me and talking to him about what the last 2 minutes might look like and what he's going to need to be able to do. And, I remember saying, I said, "Mate, just whatever they do, if they push one through, you just go with him."
Yep.
And the problem was I didn't expect Kempy to go as well, and I didn't know Blake was going to turn up there as well. But
they really listened. They didn't even know it was coming.
They
just knew what to do.
But they were ready to go. And the great thing was Gov was there as well.
Yeah.
So at least we got that part right.
We'll go one more coaching question just on that. I guess Jordan Russell coming in, I guess not only does he bring his own strength, but what does it allow Ash Hansen to do as well now up in the box?
Great. Good set of eyes. I mean, what it enables Ash to do, and it's only a slight little intention shift, is that I guess probably trying to have an eye on the forwards and just watching the forwards, he gets a chance to be able to see across the game. He knows he has Jordan to the left that can take care of the forwards and have that conversation at quarter time. What he can do is sort of, I guess, coordinate all those conversations and messages, and then I guess form a view or have that conversation down with me on the interchange bench about what we want to do. And so that two-way communication is going to be important, but where's his eyes is actually really important. So he gets to spend it a bit more on the strategic part of the game, so I'll lean on him a lot.
You do realise there's nowhere to hide in AFL footy, first of all, but especially on the bench. Like, can we get to your celebrations at
you can if you want.
The end of...
Are you going to show edits on the back of this too?
We might. Can we expect some...
You're going to put an overlay
maybe,
on this, aren't you?
Can we expect some tamer celebrations this year, or is what we get?
It was a bit of carry on. If I had to review my own performance, it'd probably just wind it back a tad. But I think it just sort of, showed, the momentum we were on and, some of the unbelievable moments. But, like the reality is I've also learnt that I'm passionate and is one thing I love is winning.
Yeah.
But, some of the way we won was more impressive than the result itself. And how can you not feel immersed within that environment, being able to have 90,000+ at both your finals. But it was pretty special to be down there, and I guess I'm sort of naturally passionate anyway, so it just overflows.
It all comes out.
But on review, I have some areas of improvement.
Well,
so go.
Are you coding a game, and then some vision of you on the bench comes up, and then you just kind of...
I don't need any accountability, because when I go home, my kids go, "Dad, what were you doing? You come up on the big screen and you're celebrating harder than the players." It's like, well, I've got to enjoy one part of my week. The one thing I learned this in my first stint, just to get serious for a second.
Yeah.
is that I probably didn't enjoy my wins as much as what I should have. And, you know, it was about the next one and about the next one and about the next one. And I sort of learnt somewhere along there, it's just so hard to win AFL games. Just stop for a second and just enjoy that moment. And, you know, I personally love just seeing the team song sung because it's that one moment you get to come all together and for a few minutes just enjoy that particular moment because it's very quickly as a coach, I've got to think about what I'm going to say to the players next and where do I want them. You know, do I acknowledge what the game is and where they're at, but also I need to shift them if I need to shift them and shift their mindset pretty quickly if I need to go down that path as well. So as a coach, you get these rare luxuries. You know, one's at siren when you win, one's when you're walking off the ground and acknowledging the supporters,
and wooing when you walk off,
and a little bit of wooing when I walk off. So that's important. And then the last one's the song, and I just sort of learned over a period of time. I didn't appreciate the last time I was a coach the wins enough, and so I thought, look, I'm stepping back in. I'm going to make sure that we enjoy these moments and we enjoy them together.
There was one win that you enjoyed in your time at Brisbane that Carlton fans definitely didn't enjoy. That was the 09 elimination final, and you may have made a 14-year-old cry that night. So thanks, Vossy.
No worries at all.
And thanks.
Why did we kick in the last quarter?
Daniel Bradshaw kicked all of the goals in the history of football, but we'll move on. Back on the bench, we'll move on. We don't want to talk about that too much. There's always an array of lollies in the coach's box.
Yeah.
Are there that many on the bench under the watchful eye of Andrew Russell, or do you have to just avoid those? Is that part of the territory?
Well, I probably do need to take this up with whoever places the lollies down there.
It's a big discussion every match.
I do notice that there's a packet there for Aaron Greaves.
Yep.
And there was a packet there for Tom Lonigan, but there was no packet for me.
Ooh.
So I don't know whether I'm trying to be told something there or like get fitter or I don't need them.
You've got too much energy.
I've got too much energy, but I never got the lollies.
Yeah.
So, so the stash goes upstairs and clearly goes to a select few on the interchange bench, but I'm not the beneficiary of any of it.
Pepsi Maxes?
Oh,
because you're a
Pepsi Max.
You're a staunch Pepsi Max
man. Yes, I'm a very big Pepsi Max
Yeah.
fan. So, no, I haven't snuck it on the interchange bench
Yet.
as of yet.
Well, we actually saw this on the night of the draft. The camera's always rolling, as I've mentioned, and we do a vision of you. You're in the war room, I think they call it, on draft night, and Len Villani kind of mentioned to you that there's no Pepsi Maxes and only Pepsis, and you weren't sure how to feel about it.
Who does that, though?
No Pepsi Maxes.
No Pepsi Maxes. You just have Pepsi.
You were genuinely rattled, and you had your.
I don't think I've ever seen just a Pepsi.
You had your full strength Pepsi for the first time, and you didn't enjoy it.
I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I don't know what it is. It's like sort of just. Do you remember Dr Pepper?
I'm on Pepsi man, so like I didn't have it.
Not very good.
No, not a fan.
Not very good.
Pepsi Maxes.
It felt like felt like I was tasting Dr Pepper, which I didn't really like at all.
Yeah.
But no, I'm through and through. I'm very loyal. So once I'm on a thing and it works, just stick with it.
Do you have a stash in your office?
This is getting personal.
Can't confirm or deny. Okay,
this is getting personal
we'll move on.
Now. All I'll say is they are in close proximity. That's all I can confirm.
Are they in Aaron Grease's office? Well, we'll stick to the not cuisine, but we'll go to the food. Have you learned how to make scrambled eggs yet?
I've through experience.
Yep.
I've had plenty of advice since that
famous video
somehow managed to resurface. And
shout out to the front bar.
And this is my jokes, right? So I tell people that can't you tell I was joking?
Yeah.
And again, no, they don't.
It doesn't land.
Come on, surely you knew when I kept pouring, you knew it was a joke. So, but no one took it as a joke. So anyway, that's okay.
It was a joke.
That's okay.
Yeah.
It was meant to be a joke, but clearly it's not taken. And again, my delivery needs work.
Do you add tomato sauce to it?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Which might really disappoint a lot of people.
But it's not just scrambled eggs, is it?
What do you mean? It's just not
like
scrambled.
Tomato sauce. I've got.
No.
I've got some good intel.
Mate, where's
here.
your information coming from here, mate? You have dug deep.
Someone mentioned ice cream and tomato sauce.
I know. I tried that once. And I'm trying to wonder, I tried that once, but that was a dare. That was a dare.
All I heard was you've had ice cream and tomato sauce.
I'm thinking Luke Powers told you that.
It's not actually Luke Power.
No?
No. It's one of your players.
Was it?
Yeah.
Well, Nigel Lappin was the one that dared me because I love tomato sauce on most things.
Yeah.
So to the point, actually, and this is going back a very long way, but like when I met my wife and went over to a place and I realised there was no tomato sauce, they had no tomato sauce in the house.
Yeah.
And
drama.
And it was like terrible. It's like I can't eat here. So they bought the smallest bottle of ketchup for me so I could have it on my food. So
that's influenced that. Yeah.
Yeah. So good. I got married. So yeah. So after that, we've been together ever since. But no, going back to the story. So
Sorry, yep.
So Nigel Adams said, look, you must have tomato sauce on everything. I bet you don't have it on ice cream. I said, well, I haven't had it on ice cream. I said, but if you put a wager on it, I'm happy to have it. And I can confirm it is the worst thing I've ever tasted.
You were going to say it was okay, and I was ready to blow a gasket.
No, it was horrible.
Yeah, I can't imagine why they would work. But I'm glad to know someone's tried it.
I got dead, but I tried it.
I want to cast your mind back to when you were appointed a few weeks before this.
Mate, your intel has been
I've been waiting to tell this story for about 2.5 years now.
Right, yeah, okay.
Because there was obviously a bit of hysteria around about Carlton's coaching appointment at the time. And I think it was actually grand final week, and still there were news cameras outside at all times. They got the vision of you leaving Adelaide Airport. They got the vision of you arriving at Melbourne Airport. At no point did they get the vision of you arriving at Icon Park.
Yeah.
On the record, how did you get here that day?
So on the record is bit of pretty tough bit of science in this one. So you're right. They tracked me to the airport, so they knew that, and then they followed me to where the interview place was. So they're all over that as well.
Yep.
And so the next day, Lloydie rang me up and he said, Voss, you got to come into the club. The board want to see you. So I'm still thinking I'm part of an interview process where I met the greater board. So obviously had got the gear on and got myself ready. Lloydie picked me up and then we drove and he said, look, mate, there's a fair chance that there's going to be some media at the front. So we just got to be conscious. I said, yeah, no worries, no problem. And we're still driving here, obviously. But Lloydie went around the back way. So I'm thinking, there must be a back way into this thing. And he said, this is a bit of a strange request. He said, you don't mind hopping in the boot, do you? And I said, no. And he goes, mate, you don't know much about Carlton just yet, but I can guarantee you there's going to be a lot of people out the front. So if you can jump in the boot, that'd be great. So I'm like going, okay.
Four-wheel drive?
So, yeah, four-wheel drive.
Okay.
Not
a sedan. So
not a sedan as such. Yeah. But then I jumped in, and at the back here, I don't know what that street is at the back there, but there's a lot of speed humps. And Lloydie must have been still driving 60k an hour because every bump he went over, my head got hit on the roof.
So are you sitting in the boot or lying on the boot?
I was I was lying down, but my head kept hitting the top. So when they come, I've hit my head about 6 times trying to get in this thing. So we get in. Now, I can't remember whether I got the Carlton job or not. I was in a concussed state by the time I got there. So, yeah, that's how. Now, I knew when I got in the boot, I was half a chance of getting the job.
You want to be asking me this.
So I'm like, if I have to get in the boot, I must be half a chance.
Well, thank you for sharing.
No worries.
I'm glad that's now been told.
It's official.
That's looking back. I want to look ahead now. I don't want to be accused of not asking the tough questions on this show.
Okay.
There's been a lot of talk recently about your future, about what the future holds. So can you confirm or deny, will you be coaching the recruit? Again.
The recruit again. Oh, yes. Yes, the recruit. That's back on? Is it coming?
I don't know, but...
Is it?
Are you going to... That's an authentic Guernsey from back in the day.
Yeah, that is an authentic Joe. I have some good memories. Actually, there's another story. So when I
By the way, great.
Yeah, I actually
great sourcing that.
That is a great sourcing. I finished my job at Brisbane, and then I wasn't too sure what I was going to do next, and then I got this knock on the door.
Yeah.
This concept reality TV, and I made a promise to myself. You know what? If I'm going to go into this, I'll say yes. I'll just do something.
Yeah.
And then I got this opportunity. It was one of the best experiences.
Right.
Oh, I had so much fun doing it. I'm so glad I said yes because I was a bit concerned of what it might look like at the start. And then I did it and I was just so surprised. And, it was just such a great experience. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
And not only just the boys, but where we travelled and what we did and the project and the size of the project and the team that was behind it. And then sort of all come out on the screen. Won an award,
Did it?
Yeah.
What'd you win?
Absolutely. Well, an award.
We won't mention what it was.
So I did well.
Well, let's just say you won't return to that
Right,
yet. You've got some other stuff to tick off before
Right,
that. A few more quick answers to finish off, and we'll let you get on with your day. We know you don't like talking about your playing career all that much, but I will ask about a former teammate of yours, former premiership teammate of yours, quite famously at the Lions, who ended up calling Carlton home now, doing some great things. How's Richard Hadley going?
Richard Hadley, yes, going all right. Rich, saw him on our premiership reunion just gone. So
I'm not talking about Luke Power.
I didn't know you were going to go there. So, but no, he's going okay.
Good,
past player.
Yeah, past great.
Past great.
Yeah,
that's
inside
it.
ball. Well, who's next on your list of favourite players that you enjoyed growing up that gets invited to Shano's breakfast? Because you're just rattling them off week after week.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Don't know. Who do you think?
What was it? Was Kenny Hunter one of your favourites? Is that right?
Kenny Hunter. Well, so Rod Ashman. Many wouldn't know this, but I'd 4 players that I loved. So first one's Kenny Hunter. So he was he was loved him. Wayne Johnson, which most people would know. Wayne Harms, he was in. Got to meet him, and Rod Ashman. So they were my 4 that I absolutely loved watching back in the day. And so, my brother was a bit more Richmond, and we'd have these clashes in the court, between Carlton and Richmond, and grand finals. And I'm pleased to say that Carlton won a lot of those matches. So, but we'd do their role play, and he'd be Jimmy Jess, and I'd be Wayne Arms, and then he'd be Flea Waitman, and then I'd be Rod Ashman. So, no, we had a lot of battles in the backyard around that, but to sort of meet all of them and just be able to have the past players back, and I'm huge on this. It's be able to link into our history, and we walk on their shoulders really, and for me to be able to understand the version that you want to bring, you have to understand where you come from. And so we've spent a lot of time in that space, not just about how we do our jumper proud, but the people have played this great club and the greats of our club, and we lean into that. And we'll have our own version. We want our own version, and we're creating that right now. But we have to understand it first before you can make that real change.
We always ask top 3s on this show. I was going to ask your top 3 favourite Carlton players of all time. That's your definitive top 4.
That's 4.
That's your Mount Rushmore.
You've got your 4.
Yeah.
And if you want 5, put Bruce Dahl in there.
Yeah, it's a safe bet.
Yeah.
So, would you rather welcome past Carlton premiership players to the footy club, or just the South African rugby team?
Good shout.
Is there something? Are you South African at all, or is there something in there? Because you just
no.
Love them.
Yeah,
stronger together.
I
If you will.
I love their story. I just
you're wearing the t-shirt.
I just get right here. I just love their story. The diversity of the country, the struggle, and yet this real sort of symbol of the Springbok is about bringing people together and bringing hope and bringing joy, and having that sort of singular message around stronger together, and I just felt like it was just such a really strong theme for us, and it started out just as that. It was just more of a I guess a doco or a story that we heard, and I think as a byproduct of what happened throughout the year, Stronger Together just grew legs and kept growing and turned it into the finals. And I remember Gav came in and sort of said, look, what theme we should go for, and he grabbed the shirt out and he sort of put it on the desk and said, mate, we're going to go with this. And I went, mate, couldn't be anything better. It was perfect, absolutely nailed it. From there it grew, and so you're right, it's South African Springboks right now is a genuine fan favourite. So that's me. I don't even like rugby union. I don't even like it at all. But they're back-to-back champions now, right? So and they still use their Stronger Together theme. Not much has changed there, but what has changed is they've got a deeper reach. It's more powerful than what it was even before. So their reach has been pretty huge. If we could emulate something like that, that would be really significant.
Well, I felt like there was a movement going last year, so we'll continue on with it. I hope
so. I mean, it's really great to see. I guess what we've been trying to. The boys culturally been getting after a lot of things, and we've been working away a lot of it over the course of the last couple of years, and it's been important to us. What we've also worked on is around our purpose and believing in something greater than ourselves, and sort of forging what we want that to be. So the fact that we could sort of somewhat impart what was important to us to our supporters and to our club, and bring us even closer together. I mean, that was hugely powerful, and hopefully continue to do so. So, I look at the players are wearing it. I look at the AFLW players are wearing it. I see our supporters out in the street and they're wearing it. It's everywhere, and I hope it gets even louder and stronger.
Yeah. Finally, we ask all of our guests this to close the show. We'll obviously have to tailor it a little bit to you. We ask them why they play football. So you might have asked this yourself a few times last year. Vossy, why do you coach?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think every day there for a while when it wasn't going so well, I remember my wife saying many times, remember you asked for this.
Yeah. Sage advice.
Yeah, I did. That's right. Yeah, okay. Put the smile on and away we go again. It is without doubt to be a difference and achieve something together. And that's still the top of the pops. When you can go through what you go through and then come together and strive for one thing and you achieve that, and there's, you see the individual journeys within that, and you see people grow, that's a hugely rewarding. And then you see a team come together and be able to execute what you're after in your game model, and they can do that under the greatest of pressure. There's no more prouder moment than you get to that, and that's probably what you love more than even the trophy itself, is that hopefully it has a trophy at the end of it, clearly, but yeah, how we're going about it, I've been impressed with how we are going about it, not just as a team but as a club, and hopefully obviously make another step.
I'm not sure if this show will win an award like The Recruit, but it's been great having you on here.
It's a chance.
It's a chance. Stronger together in 2024.
That's it. We'll go with that.
Thanks, Vossy.
No worries.